who led a number of rallies critical of the policing of an Aboriginal land occupation in Caledonia. McHale alleges that Fantino influenced municipal officials by sending an email telling the mayor and councillors not to attend McHale's rallies. Gary McHale joins us now in studio. Gary, your reaction to these recent developments regarding Commissioner Fantino?
Well, it's taken 2 years to bring this charge about, and we're happy that finally the Superior Court has ordered the lower courts to issue the charge. The Crown did everything they could for 2 years to make sure that the evidence wouldn't be presented, to make sure that the charge wouldn't go ahead. But ultimately, if you keep fighting in court, the courts will one day uphold the law in this province. And this charge comes from an event back in April of 2007. Commissioner Fantino sent an email out to the council members in Haldimand County and to the mayor, and he threatened to punish them 4 different ways if they said anything positive about Gary McHale, or if they would encourage any rallies or show up to any rallies. And in our democracy, you cannot have police officers or people in that kind of position trying to influence elected officials. We have a democracy where they should be allowed to speak out on issues of public interest. And Commissioner Fantino was outraged that one of the council members had sent out an email where he said, well, some of the things Gary McHale does I like, some of the things Gary McHale does I don't like. And that vague message by this council member outraged Commissioner Fantino, and he said that he would encourage his officers to sue individual council members. He would transfer millions of dollars worth of policing costs to the county. He would cancel the police contract. I mean, there's a whole slew of things that he threatened to do against council members simply because they were speaking out on a public issue. And that's outrageous, and it's unacceptable.
I want you to back up even further and tell me why you bothered to take up this fight in the first place.
Well, believe it or not, at the time I lived in Richmond Hill, just north of Toronto, and wasn't really paying attention to Caledonia in the early days of what was going on. And then on June 9th, I heard the story about the seniors being swarmed. And then
this is 2007?
2006. On June 9th of 2006, I heard the story about how the seniors were swarmed in Caledonia, and then about 20 minutes later, it was a CH camera crew that was attacked across the road. And about an hour and a half later, I then heard that ATF agents, American ATF agents and border guards and OPP officers were attacked, and there was an attempted murder that took place. And when I listened to all that and realized the extent to which this crime was taking place, in each one of those events, the OPP stood by and watched it take place, including the attempted murder on a fellow officer. The other officers did not do anything to stop that attack. And I said this was outrageous. And then it was about 2 weeks later, on June 17th, I created a website called Caledonia Wake Up Call. And I said someone has to stand up and start reporting what's really going on in Caledonia. And it really doesn't matter whether it's someone from Caledonia or from someone from somewhere else. Someone's got to get this information out, and that's all I've been doing.
What do you say to critics who claim that you are instigating violence and that you're condoning violence?
I'm reporting the violence. I haven't been involved in any of the violence. I haven't assaulted anybody. Our group doesn't assault people. We report what's taken place, and it's outrageous for the people who are committing the violence to be just try to accuse the other people for recording what they're doing. And that's why they attacked the CH camera crew on that particular day. They saw the CH camera crew videotaping them assaulting or attacking the senior people, and so they wanted to rough up the camera crew and take the video. And they had done that to previous camera people in Caledonia before, and so they didn't want there to be a record of the violence that they were committing. And so it's easier to blame somebody else, someone like me, and say, well, it's Gary who's inciting. Well, what violence have I committed?
I want to ask you about another development in this case, and that is a lawsuit that has been settled out of court between the province and a couple who had been suing the province over what they claimed was a lack of policing or unfair policing on their part. How do you feel about that?
Well, I would have preferred, of course, that the court would have ruled and slapped the government's hand and come down with a clear ruling. But I really do understand how Dave Brown and Dana Chatwell why they'd want to settle at this stage. The government had already given indications that they would be appealing this case for the next couple of years. This family would have had to continue to live in this house for 2 years or 3 years while it goes through all the appeal motions just to get a settlement that the court would have awarded them. So enough evidence had come out in the court that the government realized there's no way they were going to win. They went into court the first day and in such an arrogant way, believing that somehow the government and the police have no duty or obligation to non-native people. If you had heard the opening argument from the Crown, they probably said about 50 times in 10 minutes their obligation to Aboriginal people, but they never once said, not even in one sentence, that they had any duties or any obligation to non-natives.
Gary, we've only got 30 seconds left. Where do you think this is going to go now, and what would you like to see happen?
Well, I think the Crown's going to automatically stay it. They cleared Fantino back in 2007. They hired an investigator, an outside lawyer. The lawyer actually reported to the mayor that he had the right to report the way he was told. She testified that on the stand in court. And so I expect that the Crown's going to completely cover up this charge. I will then have to file a review on that and fight it further into the court system.
And of course, we'll be following it very closely. Gary McHale, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you.